So the way it delivers is it comes and it touches down for basically a fraction of a second at the delivery site. And then it's got sort of two little doors on the bottom that open up, and then the droid retracts. It's pretty magical. It's like pulling a rabbit out of a hat look, because the droid sort of lands and then just takes off again, leaving behind the package sitting right where you want it, sort of revealing it as it pulls up.
You're listening to the Drone Radio Show podcast, the show about drones and the people who use them for business, fun, and research. Hosted by Randy Goers.
Hello, everyone. This is Randy Goers, and welcome to the Drone Radio Show podcast, episode 420. How are advanced drone technologies revolutionizing global delivery systems? For that question, we head to San Francisco to speak with Keenan Wyrobek and Juan Albanell of Zipline. Zipline is the world's first drone delivery service whose focus is delivering life-saving medicine to the most difficult-to-reach places on Earth. The company designs, manufactures, and operates the world's largest autonomous logistics system. Used every day by businesses, governments, and consumers, Zipline's fully electric and autonomous drones reduce delivery emissions by up to 97% compared to gas cars. The company has flown more than 70 million autonomous miles and has delivered millions of items, including more than 15 million vaccine doses. Keenan Wyrobek is co-founder and head of product and engineering at Zipline. Prior to Zipline, Keenan was a co-founder and director of the Personal Robotics Program at Willow Garage. He was involved in launching and growing the robot operating system and shipping PR2, the first personal robot for software research and development. Keenan has spent years delivering high-tech products to market across a range of fields, including consumer electronics, sportswear, and medical robotics. Juan Albanell is head of systems engineering, where he has led engineering efforts to scale up Platform 1 across the world and is now focused on getting Platform 2 from prototype to first customer releases. Prior to Zipline, Juan led a small team at Apple working on taking emerging sensing and display technologies from lab bench to automated production lines. He has dedicated his engineering career on taking early-stage concepts to reliable consumer products through a focus of test and automation. In this episode of the Drone Radio Show, Keenan and Juan talk about Zipline, its long-distance Platform 1 delivery service, and the company's plans to scale short-distance home delivery services. But before we hear from Keenan and Juan, I want to stress that your support is the heartbeat of my podcast. Every episode is crafted with you in mind, and your generous donations ensure I can keep delivering the content you love. Whether it's the price of a coffee or a more substantial contribution, every bit helps to defray the cost of production. Donate today and be a vital part of the podcast's continued journey to greatness. And for a limited time, donate $100 or more and receive an official Drone Radio Show coffee mug. This week, I want to give a special shout out to Jay Duhadway for his recent donation. To donate, go to droneradioshow.com/donate. And if you can, please subscribe to the podcast on your favorite platform and leave a nice review and rating on iTunes. It really helps improve the podcast ranking among the many thousands of active podcasts today. And by the way, if you have a great story about the use of drones that you'd like to share in a podcast, contact me at randy@droneradioshow.com. So let's learn about Zipline and its long and short distance delivery services with Keenan Wyrobek and Juan Albanell of Zipline. Let's pick up the interview where I asked Keenan and Juan to introduce themselves.
My name is Keenan Wyrobek, and I'm a co-founder here at Zipline and the CTO.
And my name is Juan Albanell. I'm the head of systems test here at Zipline.
Keenan, tell us about Zipline. What does the company do?
We're on a mission to create the first logistics system that serves all people equally. We started in delivery of healthcare. We've then moved into goods as well as good food. And of course, we do this with a drone delivery platform. We started in 2016, and we're now in 8 countries.
Where were the first deliveries made?
We started in Rwanda, and our very first deliveries was to one hospital in Rwanda back in 2016.
And of course, you're in the U.S. as well. Where do you operate currently?
We have operations in Utah as well as in Arkansas. And in the U.S., we've delivered everything from food to healthcare supplies and e-commerce goods.
What sets Zipline apart from other drone delivery companies?
At the sort of fundamental level, it comes down to customer obsession. Everything we do, all design choices, all the little things we do come down to what matters most to our customers. And, a lot of the things that we do, like our platform one, the platform we've been operating for these last 8 years, is a fixed wing platform. And everyone in the drone industry was like, you're crazy. Why aren't you doing VTOL? It's got to be VTOL. Everybody's doing VTOL. But we knew our customers cared about long range and they cared about low cost. And if you care about those two things, you have a huge advantage with a fixed wing platform. And that connection to our customers gave us the confidence to go down the path that nobody else was going down. And it's been obviously wildly successful. Our customers love it. They count on it day in and day out. And that's really at the DNA of what we do. And it leads to so many aspects of how we operate. I think it's even a good opportunity to sort of introduce Juan and his team because, the system tests we do is such a big part of delivering on that customer promise.
Yeah, absolutely. I think this is like from day one, when we design a new vehicle or new concept, we always take into consideration the biggest priority is safety and reliability when it comes to delivering to customers. So we've developed extensive test campaigns in Platform 1 and on our newer Platform 2 system that has been really what has allowed us to gain confidence that we can go and deliver to a customer. And we've used that prior and past experience, extensive, 960,000 deliveries at this point, and tons of other test flights on top of that to ensure that, we're doing this. Whenever we get to in front of a customer, it's doing so reliably and safely.
And to be clear, this is all weather over mountain ranges, like crazy storms, rain, of course, ever since the beginning. And what it takes to test a system and validate a system in that really broad operational domain is quite challenging.
What are some of the metrics that Zipline uses to measure progress?
So 8 countries, including now here in the US, countries in Africa, Europe, as well as Asia. 960,000 deliveries, which is our average delivery is actually just a little bit over an hour. So it's a lot of flight hours that we've done. And my favorite metric is essentially equivalent of flying the equator of the Earth, which is something that we do in our operations 4 times a day. So 4 times a day in our operations, we fly the equivalent distance of the equator of the Earth. It gives you a sense of just its massive scale. And it's both very satisfying and very challenging.
And are medical supplies still the most delivered product?
Absolutely. We started at the very beginning just doing blood in medicine. Over the subsequent years, we got really good at vaccines, so ultra cold chain products, things like that, as well as pharmaceuticals and other medical supplies. We started just doing hospitals, and then we moved into clinics. And now we do patient home delivery of things like chronic medications for chronic conditions. And then since then, our next biggest area of operational volume is in the agricultural space. The hallmark of my Zipline journey has been like how counterintuitive or how sort of unintuitive even some of these really high impact things are that you can do with drone delivery. And my favorite example there in the agricultural space is we deliver bull semen. And so one of the main sources of protein for many kids around the world is cow milk, right? And the difference between a cow that's not genetically diverse and a cow that is genetically diverse is 10x. As in, a genetically diverse cow produces 10 times more milk, or as much milk as 10 non-genetically diverse cows. And it was one of those things that I just had no concept of coming from the drone and robotics world. But it's one of those things that we do day in and day out now, and it has a huge impact on the life of so many people.
Tell us about the 2 platforms that Zipline operates off of in making the deliveries.
Platform 1, what we've been operating on, this is our very long-range platform. So it's great for going from a metro area and serving the surrounding cities and towns outside that metro area. And for reference, Rwanda is a relatively small country, but with 2 distribution centers, so 2 locations we operate from, we can serve 95% of the land area of that country with Platform 1. Platform one, flies out fixed wing style. When it gets to a delivery site, it floats a package down to the ground. And so pick a Platform one package, picture it as, a cake box, right, size, with a paper parachute attached to the package. And as you can imagine, floating that down from the air, that, it takes a few parking spots worth of space to deliver into. And for years, our customers have been like, hey, we really want home delivery at scale. We really want delivery in metro areas. And when you go into a metro area, and certainly homes, most homes in the world, they don't have very much space at all to deliver into. Our solution to be able to deliver to those homes where you might just have a small back porch or a small yard or even a small spot on your roof, depends on where you are in the world as to where you'd like that delivery on your property, and do that again all the time, right? Because one of the things I think is really important for us is our customers, they don't hire us as like a fair weather delivery service, like only when it's nice out, only when it's not windy. In fact, a lot of these use cases, they get more demand when the weather's bad and things like that. And so we needed a solution to that problem. That's where Platform 2 comes in.
Juan, can you explain how the Platform 2 experience works?
Platform 2 is designed from the ground up, again, for these like more densely populated urban areas where we want to be able to emphasize the precision of delivery. But again, going back to the testing portion and the safety and reliability, that's always our main focus, right? Making sure that we do this in a safe and reliable manner. And we do believe that this droid system, right? Like the vehicle is basically, this droid system allows for the vehicle to be flying more than 300 feet above people. That's a pretty big difference for the customer experience to have this sort of like the bigger drone further away. And the thing that comes down for the delivery is really just this much more approachable system, which we call the droid, that is designed, again, both from a passive perspective and from an active perspective, to be able to deliver, to steer and avoid obstacles, and be able to do so in a very, very confined space in a safe and reliable manner, such that you can trust that this thing will go and deliver in your backyard. And we've done extensive testing towards this, not only, again, as Keenan mentioned, across different weather conditions, across different wind conditions, especially, right? Making sure that the droid is able to come down at a precise location, but also doing so with like different backyards where we've had different configurations and tested to see how does the droid and the sort of extensive sensor suite that it has to sort of steer clear of obstacles, how does it do in different backyard types. So this allows us to make sure that well before we get to customers, we have confirmed and guaranteed that we'll be able to serve as many people as possible, really.
Is the droid tethered to the larger drone, or is it completely separate?
Yeah, it's tethered. So picture the Platform 2 drone. It's a hovering capable drone. So unlike Platform 1 that's fixed wing, when it comes to the delivery site, that drone hovers in place, again, about 100 meters, 300 plus feet up in the air. The droid is lowered down by a tether. And then the droid has its own active fans and sensors and autopilot. So while it's being lowered, it can avoid obstacles. And of course, in the face of gusting winds and things like that, still precisely deliver.
What are the benefits of essentially using two drones in this configuration? Doesn't it add to the complexity and challenge?
Yeah, great question. Because, there's no way we would take on this complexity if we didn't absolutely believe it was phenomenally the right thing to do. Because to your point, there's a lot more engineering work to bring this to operations. And I think maybe just kind of take you on the journey we went through. So, right, Platform 1, it takes a couple parking spots to float this package to the ground. And when our customers were asking for, how can we, deliver to homes at scale in metro areas, we're like, okay, how do we get this precision? So we made the same assumption everybody else did, which is like, okay, hovering vehicle, right? Let's do a tether and a package on the bottom of that tether. But when we went and tested that in real world conditions, right, with all the crazy gusts of wind and, as all of us in the drone industry know, like when you get below rooftops, especially, winds can change direction very quickly. And that method of a hovering vehicle with a line and a package on the bottom, just, that took about as much space to deliver into as our Platform 1 system took to deliver into. And we were just like, okay, this is not the solution to what our customers are asking for, which is this precision all the time. And that was the main motivator, was being able to actually be precise enough to deliver to essentially all addresses, 99% of the weather conditions. And if we thought there was any other way to do that was simpler, we would do it. And that's sort of our ethos. It's like, it can only be as simple as possible while still delivering on what our customers actually care about. And this is important.
What about noise and safety considerations?
From a noise perspective, is the big drone, which we've designed to be as quiet as possible already from the get-go, is now, instead of being much closer to the ground, because you have to drop this inactive package that is swinging in the wind, so you have to be much closer. Now you have it much further away. Like it should be, to a customer, it should feel so far that's like a speck in the distance, really. So that really the only interface is that. So from a noise perspective and from a customer experience perspective, we strongly believe that this is the right decision, right? And then from a safety perspective, again, just to emphasize that in these wind and sort of extreme weather conditions, you have this package coming down kind of, if it's not active, and if it's like what we do with the droid, that is going to, a bit of a wrecking ball situation that you could get from that. When we were doing early testing of this, whether this concept made sense, we looked into that. And yeah, in gusty wind conditions, we don't want a package that just kind of is swinging around everywhere. So we strongly believe that it is a safer design to have something that is active, that can guide itself to the exact position that the customer asked for the package to be delivered.
How do the products actually get into the customer's hands?
Yeah, great question. So to picture the droid, I like to describe it as sort of this like cute amalgamation of like maybe a cooler or toaster with a fan boat. If you know what I'm talking about, a fan boat has that sort of fan in the back that instead of a propeller in the water that drives it, and because the droid has its own fans, combined with sort of a baby seal look. Anyway, try to bring this to life if you've never seen it. So the way it delivers is it comes and it basically touches down for just basically a fraction of a second at the delivery site, and then it's got sort of two little doors on the bottom that open up, and then the droid retracts. It's pretty magical. It's like pulling a rabbit out of a hat look, because the droid sort of lands and then just takes off again, if that makes sense, leaving behind the package sitting right where you want it, and sort of revealing it as it pulls up.
What was the most challenging part in designing this system?
I wish I could say there was just one big challenge to making this come true. And unfortunately, there were a lot. There's a couple that are really exciting. One is the breakthroughs we've made on propeller design for making them sound really pleasant. And not only do we radically improve the sound characteristics of propellers, but we increase the efficiency of propellers above what the state of the art, which are just, I actually thought we might improve sound. And the question was how much penalty we would pay for efficiency. And the fact that we got really great sound quality and improved efficiency is just so exciting. Maybe the second great example is the droid design itself. Getting the aerodynamic performance of that system while shrinking it down around the package. Basically we want, if you kind of picture from a design challenge perspective, you want the package to be as big as possible, and the droid should barely be bigger than the package that fits inside the droid. And getting that right, getting the performance of that right, getting the aesthetics of it right, so it does feel approachable, and getting the safety of it right, so it is something that, is something that if you touched it, like, we're not talking about a safety concern. These are all really important challenges that were really tricky to bring together with this little droid.
I read something about the acoustic perception system, and it's the first time I've heard of it. What is the benefit of such a system?
This was a big breakthrough that we actually shipped to production on Platform 1 last year, which is really exciting. So in many airspaces around the world, including, of course, here in the US, where we fly for deliveries and where we fly drones in general, these are uncontrolled airspaces that don't have transponder requirements on airplanes. And so you need a solution that enables your aircraft, your drone, to avoid other aircraft that aren't transponding their position, right? Obviously, other aircraft that are transponding their position, we listen to that transponder information and maintain separation. But of course, many aircraft don't have those transponders. And we went through the journey that I think a lot of folks went through on this, which is like, all right, it's probably going to be solved with radar or cameras. And when we figured out the radar was going to be heavier than the drone itself by probably a factor of 2 or 3, in order to see in 360-degree field of view to avoid aircraft, and to see at the ranges required to maintain large-scale separation, we ruled radar out. Then we look at cameras. Very similar reasons. Cameras, we just aren't robust enough, right? A speck on the lens can make your camera no longer an effective tool because you're trying to see an aircraft, again, really far away, right? As far as a couple kilometers away in order to maintain the large-scale separation that we and the regulators are looking for. And, we went back to the drawing board, and that's where the acoustic system came from. We had heard about, pre-radar in World War I and early World War II. If you've ever seen these amazing photos of, there's the soldiers, and they have their ear up to this big cone. When I say big cone, I mean like a 50-foot cone. They put their ear up to the end of this 50-foot cone to try to hear aircraft over the horizon before radars were invented. And we're like, all right, well, we got to explore this. Now, when we started exploring, we're like, okay, let's find the reasons why this definitely won't work. But we actually were able to solve the noise problems. The noise problem is the hardest part, right? You're trying to hear another aircraft, really far away over the aeroacoustic noise of your aircraft rushing through the air, as well as over your propellers, that are right next to your microphones. When we cracked those two problems a few years ago now, we decided to go for it. We spent about 3 years working with the FAA and, of course, developing the technology to be production ready. And end of last year, got approval from the FAA to actually operationalize this. So now we use this in Utah and in Arkansas on board our aircraft to, the term of the industry, of course, is detect and avoid those aircraft that aren't transponding their position.
How are you doing in securing vendors for product deliveries?
We have a huge backlog of partnerships, some of which we announced, I can mention, and some we have yet to announce for both Platform 1 and Platform 2. Like the Platform 1 operations, for example, we've delivered food. We deliver in the US, I'm talking about, specifically. In Utah, we deliver for a health system in Utah called Intermountain Health. In Arkansas, we're operating for Walmart there, and we've started delivering with pharmaceuticals, and we've also now deliver 80% of what they have in the Walmart store we're attached to there. Yeah, and we have lots of other food partners that we've announced, as well as now approaching a dozen U.S. health system partners like Intermountain and many others around the United States.
How do you go about developing and growing the business as you open various areas?
Yeah, that's a good question. So practically, we generally, when we launch in a new area, like a new country or a new area here in the US, it starts with our core partner in that area that wants our services to have such a big impact that it motivates us setting up that new operation. Then we start operating with them, and then we start layering in other customers in that area who want delivery services as well. And that's how it's been in every country we've ever operated in. Yeah, from US to Africa and even Japan, right? We started with the health system there and then have layered in bento box lunch deliveries. And so that's been a pretty common mode of operation for us. And what we're really excited about this year, so later this year, we'll be launching Platform 2 that we've been talking about here a fair bit. As Juan mentioned, right now we're in that phase of Platform 2 of basically massive scale testing. So massive amount of testing on ground. So this is like in environmental chambers and vibe tables and basically all the creative ways we can think of on the ground to stress test our designs and understand their weaknesses to improve them, as well as a massive system level test campaign that Juan and his team run around, basically massively scaling up our flight tests. And that's all about proving to ourselves that we are ready to go operate. And we're still on that journey. This is not as I always talk about internally, this is not a date-driven process for us. It's a safety metrics-driven process. And while we move with urgency, we don't call it done until we hit our metrics. And that's just an important kind of, again, so we're taking responsibility for being leaders in this space. We want to prove to ourselves first before we then go to the regulator and say, hey, we're ready to do this. But yeah, so we're on that journey this year. And we're really excited later this year to launch a pilot location for Platform 2, as well as our first metro area for Platform 2, which will be Dallas with a handful of customers.
Is there anything that we missed that we should talk about?
When we launch Platform 2 in our first big metro, which will be Dallas, we have, health partners, food partners, as well as an e-commerce partner we'll be launching with there. And yeah, it's an exciting moment to take this thing we've been working on internally and mostly quietly for the last number of years and really, bring this delivery experience, which delivery experience is, it's weird to say this on an audio program, but it is so magical when you see it. I just can't wait for everybody to feel that magic. I can still remember that moment maybe 3.5 years ago now. We had been trying to figure out this delivery experience for almost a couple of years at that point. I still remember the moment we actually had a prototype of this flying and delivering in this way that we're going to be delivering. And it was just felt so magical and kind of obvious, if that makes sense. Where it's just like, okay, we got it. This is it. This is the thing that we are going to love and we think everybody else is going to love. And so I can't wait for everybody to experience that.
And for my final question, what message would you like to leave regarding the future of the drone industry?
I mean, we're really excited about it at the end of the day. And I think what's exciting about the drone industry, I think the industry is at that stage the computer industry was in those very early days, where people were playing with the technology, using it in sort of relatively limited use cases. But the future of this is going to be something that everybody counts on and uses. And I'm really excited for that future.
That's it for episode 420 of the Drone Radio Show. I hope you enjoyed hearing from Keenan Wyrobek and Juan Albanell of Zipline. I want to thank both men for taking the time to speak with me. If you want to learn more about Zipline or want to connect with Keenan or Juan, check out the webpage at flyzipline.com. If you like the Drone Radio Show, then please subscribe and share. Write a glowing review on iTunes. And if you're able, donate to keep the podcast going. Go to droneradioshow.com/donate. And thanks for listening. Your support means a lot to me, and I hope you'll listen to more episodes of the Drone Radio Show podcast to hear how others are using drones for business, fun, and research. For the Drone Radio Show, I'm Randy Goers.
This has been the Drone Radio Show podcast. More information on today's show can be found on our website at www.droneradioshow.com. If you're using drone technology for business, fun, or research and would like to share your experience on the show, please visit our website and fill out a guest appearance application. And don't forget to follow us on your favorite social media channels.